to note here on the front bottom grill, this liner mesh, pretty much all of these clips here are broken. There's only one right here that is holding this thing on to dear life. So you're gonna need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's get 6. I need to get 6 of those. So I had a problem with my keyless go gear selector where pressing the button would not really do anything, but if I twisted it side to side, it was loose. Mine was loose like this. You could twist it side to side, which was not good. Sometimes you twist it and the keyless go would engage and start the car, and then you'd untwist it back to kind of stop it. So this gear selector isn't supposed to wiggle like this. So I pulled this off, and then I looked inside, and then right here you can see that I only have one of these pins in here, but there were 2 pins in here that were sticking in there. There's 2 little holes. That's where the wires go through to detect the keyless go. So I had 1 pin, 2 pins here broken, just like that. I already pulled one out. You can see the other one, I just left it inside my little cup holder. So they were obviously broken, so I pulled them out, threw them off to the side. And the problem is that so after I pulled off the keyless go, I took off this cover. Just give me a second. So I pulled off the cover button, and inside here lives this switch right here, and it's just the button. So when you press the keyless go button here, it presses this micro switch on the inside, and these metal wires contacts that were on the inside, of course, were broken. So sometimes they would make contact and sometimes they wouldn't. So what I did is I grabbed some calipers here, and I have a little piece of the original broken wire, and I measured, and these measure at about between 0.90 and 0.95 is what I measured. So I grabbed 2 sewing needles here. One measures 0.95 and the other measure is actually 0.63. I could find another one in my house that were both accurate, but see, this one measures 0.93 and the other sewing needle measures 0.76. So the 0.76 one in there is fairly loose. The 0.93 one fits in there perfect. So now I'm able to stick these 2 needles in here, and notice I kind of made contact in the car already turned on. I have my key right here, so when I press the micro switch on here, there we go. See, again, they're loose through the little circuit board right there. I need to solder them on so that they actually have proper connection, but holding it at the right angle, you can see I can turn the car just by pressing the keyless go button. See, it turns it off. So now what I just need to figure out is cut these to the right distance so that they fit inside the gear selector. So that's a little hack to fix it in case your original wires are broken like mine were. And again, notice they kind of just slide in there. So I've got some of the pieces in here. I've got one of the little broken metal pieces inside this Ziploc bag. I got another piece right here. I got another piece inside the dash there and there. So it was just broken because the gear selector knob was twisting back and forth and causing the shaft here to also twist. So here's an example of the 2 sewing needles inserted into the 2 pinholes right here. Pay attention to the air control unit. So I'll short these 2 pins. Turns on the accessory, and then it turns on the ignition 1. And then I'll go ahead and press it again, and that'll shut it off. Here he is. And all this button does is just connect the circuit between both of them. Okay, so I've got my needles and button in there sitting all the way. I've added some flux in there, and I've got my solder here, my soldering iron, and my soldering iron heating up. I've got a very fine tip on here to be able to reach in there with this fine tip and warm up the area, and then I'm gonna solder these pins on there. After they're both soldered on there, I'm going to pull them out and cut off the excess of the needles. Okay, so I have my new sewing needles soldered in there, and the button's all connected. So now when I press the button, my keyless go now functions. So now it's just a matter of putting this connector back on. That's probably the hardest part of the whole job right here. There's little notches. There it is. Now it's lined up. Okay, there we go. Perfect. And now my gear selector doesn't wobble side to side. At the very tip of the stem here, I just put one strip of about 2 reps of this electrical tape at the very tip of the shaft here. So that'll help prevent it from rotating. So my keyless go selector here now works. Excellent. So just a little update on my oil leak from my oil cooler and oil filter housing assembly. It's only been about 30 miles. I've driven it I took a little test drive on the highway through the city here, got it up to highway speeds, but I'm not seeing any typical oil leaks down here. Hold on. Everything's looking... That does seem kind of sus right there. I'm gonna wipe that off and then monitor it and see if it continues. Decently dry, so pretty happy about that. The real test is going to come with a couple thousand miles, so we'll see how it develops in the next few weeks and months or so. So here's a better area of that location under the oil filter housing. It does seem pretty moist, but again, I'm just going to wipe it off, monitor it. It could just be old oil residue. You can see some of the very caked on stuff that was there from the previous leak just building up over days and weeks and weeks and weeks. Just caked on there. So I'll do a better job of wiping that off and re-inspect it after another test drive.